Welcome back to Nick Lenz Comic Corner Classic Known Classics. This is episode number 2034 and Doubleshot number 1928. Now, these two trades are basically by writers. One is a recent writer for Batman, the other is a former writer for Batman. First up is a recent writer. This is the event Batman Shadow War, which of course between Batman, Robin, and Deathstroke Incorporated. 2 issues apiece from all 3 series, along with an Alpha and Omega one-shot and a Warzone one-shot, all entirely done by Joshua Williamson, which is so awesome. And these are writers, the co-writers, I think these ones do the Warzone one-shot, which is Ed Bronson, Stephanie Phillips, and Nadita Simmons. The artists are Howard Porter, which according to Josh Williamson, brings him up for big events. This basically is there for that. Roger Cruz, Paula Benita, Venkator Begovic, Stephen Segovia, Arlo Smith, Sweeney Boo, Mike Bowden, and Medoya, and Michael Henderson. This cover here is done by John Boy Myers. So, the story of this one basically is this. That we actually have it where it's revealed that Ra's al Ghul is dying after multiple times. By the way, this is basically what's up in the pages of Robin. Yeah, this whole event was mostly the seeds of this in the pages of Joshua Williamson for Robin. They continue that from that book. There's a little bit here from the first story from Joshua Williamson for Batman, and also a continuation stuff from Deathstroke, which I appreciate the fact he basically builds upon something he already established. Good job on his part. So, these two want to turn themselves in, basically Roz and Talia, to the DEO for their crimes, per se. And you have Deathstroke give you a speech, basically apologizing, though he basically willingly arrested. And then he's shot apparently by Deathstroke. Yes, Ra's al Ghul is killed by Deathstroke. Which thinking, wait, didn't that also happen in Batman, when the movie Son of Batman? Yes, it did. Except that one, Deathstroke did kill him. This book, no, was actually an imposter. Because Deathstroke is apparently king of the secret society. Yeah, he apparently has a group of supervillains working for him. Because Josh Williams is awesome. So, of course, Deathstroke is like, I didn't do this. This was an imposter. And we don't find out who this is until the second to last issue of this entire storyline of who this is. So Talia sends out the Demon's Head. Their instructions, go kill Deathstroke and his associates. Namely, she's declared war on the secret side of supervillains. Oh, by the way, this also builds upon from Bendis' event Leviathan event and Checkmate, which that kind of leads into this too. So mostly a lot of Josh Williams stuff and a little bit from Bendis stuff indirectly. So we have them where they attack the headquarters. By the way, Black Canary does briefly appear in the story. She's not the main focus. Oddly, and here's the strange thing though. These following characters are nowhere to be seen in this shadow war between the Deathstroke and Secret Side civilians and Talia and her Demon Shadow. Nightwing, the Batgirls, Tim Drake is nowhere to be seen here because I get why Batman's here because it's the Al Ghuls. Of course he's involved. Robin, because he's basically Ross's grandson. Deathstroke, because he's basically one of the accused of this. So of course be involved in this. But throughout this story, we do see some depths, per se. Like, for example, during the storyline, Respawn, who was revealed to be Deathstroke's son, which they revealed this, I think around the start of the very story, basically, that he was actually Deathstroke's son. Yeah, they reveal he was actually Deathstroke's son. And then during the course of the story, he gets killed off by Talia as part of her vengeance. So, these are your deaths basically throughout the entire story arc. In the opening issue, just Roz himself. Then we have first appearance character named Angelmaker, who apparently has got a past with, get this, she has a past with not only Talia, but also Black Canary. Yep. And then we have another villain who dies, Deadline. Yeah, he gets killed off here. A character from the most recent run for Deathstroke. He gets killed off here for reasons. Yeah, and that's only the second part of this run, is they kill off Deadline. In part 3 in Deathstroke Incorporated number 8, it's like every issue is like there's some kind of death in here per se. Is there any deaths in Deathstroke? No. No, there isn't. But we also have it where Deathstroke is basically training his son Respawn to be a proper successor to him. In Robin, which by the way, this is when they bring in, of all people, they bring in Batman Incorporated. This is something that, now, yes, this was a Grant Morrison creation, but this continues from the Abyss story arc. And we do have another death, Dr. Moon, who was really in love with Plasma from Brother of Evil. Yeah, apparently he was in love with her for some reason. Yep. And then we have in issue 123 of Batman, we see a death of the Hood. Yeah, he gets killed off here. Which, that's interesting. They kill off him after he was a character who just showed up in this current continuity in the first issue of Batman Incorporated by Grant Morrison. And Shadow Warzone. This was basically like a side thing mostly, but they included in here. Is there any deaths in this one shot? Though they include in here, the one shot does contain a basically an explanation for of Talia's past with Mother Soul, who was her grandmother, and Damien's great grandmother. And Deathstroke number 9 is there any other deaths per se? Well, as I mentioned, Reesman got killed off in this story, and then he came back. Yeah. He got killed off in Batman 123. Though he apparently comes back after this event wraps up. Though he's not apparently the only one who apparently dies. Deathstroke dies in the penultimate issue. Then he comes back and they'll bring more to that. So, toward the end of the storyline, Batman's like, I'm getting tired of this. Let's just end this now before it gets worse. So, then eventually Talia apparently kills Deathstroke because like, I avenged my father. And then the real killer comes out. He takes off his mask and it's revealed to be freaking Geoforce from the Outsiders. Yes, Joshua Williamson has turned a superhero into a villain. The reason for this was because Leviathan ruined his country. So he basically killed Roz to get back at Talia for basically destroying his country. That's the reason why he started all this. Yeah. And they had to fight him, a bunch of earthquake stuff going on. It's just really interesting. Now, and by the way, and it's pointed out, I think by one of the heroes, like I think it was Damien pointed this out. You're supposed to be a hero. You killed somebody. You killed Roz. And after fighting him, and eventually he surrenders, so he eventually does go to jail for killing Ra's al Ghul. As for everything else, they don't really know anything about that. But in the case of Damien, he basically just does not bother to resurrect Ra's in the story because his time had come. Blame the rest. Though I should point out that this actually is the second time Ra's officially died in comics. Excuse me. The last time was back in 2003. Yes, seriously. At that point, he was dead for 4 years until Grant Morrison's Resurrection Ra's al Ghul story arc. This book here came out for the second time, and maybe this might be permanent. Though indirectly, this book will lead into several major storylines afterwards. But this book is good. Really good. 10 out of 10. Awesome. Though, Destro comes back at the end of the story arc, and all that leads into is Dark Crisis. Yes. Though we set up Dark Crisis, we set up the event of Batman versus Robin, which happens with Robin, and of course you also set up Lazarus Planet. Yeah, this event set up 3 major storylines. Which, hey, at least got to praise the fact Josh Williamson basically had basically planned, laid the groundwork for it. Got to praise him for that part because he's no one for doing this. Basically, he basically establishes something and it gets explored and other stuff. He, of course, is doing Dark Crisis, which for some stupid reason with issue 4 is renamed to Dark Crisis on Infinite Earths. And I agree with the opinion. Let it go. We don't need to constantly bring up Crisis on Earths. Apparently, it's all involved like great darkness, especially with Darkseid, which is strange to say the least. But this book was really good. Interesting though, it was Geoforce Ball people who was responsible for this. Yep. Our next up is my 4 Batman writer. We have Van Helsing, Sword of Heaven. Now, in this very mini-series, if you're curious though about the outfit Van Helsing wearing the cover here, she wears in 2 out of the 6 issues of this miniseries. You see her briefly wear at the start of issue 1 and toward the end of issue 6. But that's all you see of the outfit. Her hat, her awesome hat that she wears in her books, does not show up in the book at all. So basically the cover is mostly a lie. It's just there for Van Helsing fans. But it's a great miniseries. Most of this miniseries we actually have where after killing all these monsters, she wants to kill off vampires permanently by looking for the Sword of Heaven, which involves her going to India. Yes, Lisa Van Helsing, who I should point out though is over 100 years old and slept with Hades. Yes, she seriously did that. She actually dated Hades for a period of time. Yes, the god of the underworld. She basically asked him out and they dated for a while until he died. Yes. That's basically the Grim Tower Paradox universe for you. Yeah, we actually have the daughter of the world's most famous vampire hunter dating the god of the underworld. At least got praise for this much. He got himself a smoking hot babe like Van Helsing. Yep. And I gotta say, Dix does a great job with this miniseries. Now, they also probably like brand new Van Helsing adventure from Chuck Dixon. And of course, let's have Batman, Punisher, Bane Conquest. Collect issues 1 of the smash hit comic book series. Yeah, I agree. It's a smash hit series. Now, I mistakenly said that Robin Hood, Knight of Justice, that Rogue Justice, that miniseries, that was actually his last book for overall Major DC for comic book wise. I was actually wrong. She actually had 1 more miniseries after this one. A 2-issue miniseries for Van Helsing, which was collected in a book trade called Age of Oblivion. But for this particular series in particular, it's really good. I give this book a surprising 10 out of 10 because I enjoy this book. It's really good. If you're curious, though, how many more books left to go for Chuck Dixon's time at Zenescope? Well, for Van Helsing, I believe there's 2 more books left, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, it's called Justice, excuse me. There is still 3 more miniseries left to go for his time at Zenescope. There's still there's Van Helsing versus Werewolf, Robin Hood the Curse, and there's also another Van Helsing miniseries. So yeah, there's 2 more Van Helsing miniseries from Van Helsing, from Chuck Dixon, and there's 1 more Robin Hood book. Yep. And sadly, that was it for his time at comics, per se. I'm not really sure exactly of why he stopped working for Zenescope, but for DC, it's because basically there's some disagreements, per se. Yeah, but that is what it is. Okay, so that's the particular review. Next up is going to be Case Closed and a Comic Corner. And then At the finish those two, Baruto. Okay, next video. Bye.